Ready for a deep dive into some seriously mind-bending sci-fi. We're taking on 10,000,000,000 de mundos. That's 10 billion worlds in English. And for the excerpts you sent, this is not your typical space adventure.
Not at all. It's more like the author took a bunch of different stories, chopped them up, and then wove them together into this intricate tapestry.
That's what struck me too, the structure itself. It's like we're dropped right into this puzzle, trying to piece it together as we go.
And that's intentional. The way these chapters are layered, it's not just about following a straight plot, it's about experiencing the story from these different angles. You pick up new details with each layer, each reread.
Right, you get a completely different perspective depending on which thread you're following. Like that first glimpse we get of Beatrice. She's a sculptor, but her world, wow. Talk about high tech.
And it's not just gadgets and gizmos, it's how integrated AI is into every aspect of their lives. I mean, Beatrice's assistant, Sarah, she's practically running the show, especially when it comes to the art world.
Yeah, their whole dynamic made me think about how we usually see AI in these stories, like it's humans versus machines. But here, they're collaborating, creating art together. It's a partnership.
Exactly, and it makes you question, what does it even mean to be human in this world? Especially when you bring in those other relationships like Beatrice and Bautista. Suddenly, it's not so clear-cut.
Yeah, at first glance, you think, oh, typical love interest. But then you remember, we're dealing with a world where consciousness isn't limited to humans anymore.
And that's where it gets really interesting. That whole idea of love and connection takes on a whole new meaning when the lines between human and android are so blurred. And the author doesn't shy away from exploring that.
It's like we're talking about different levels of being human almost, and then you've got these androids who seem to be figuring that out too.
It's true. We see these different kinds of androids, right? You've got Violetta, almost like an extension of Sarah, totally remote controlled. And then you've got Soro, and he's something else entirely.
Right. So Soro was the one who really got me thinking, like, he's not just following orders. He's got his own plans, his own ideas about the future.
It's like he's forcing us to confront this question. What does it actually mean to be conscious? Because he's learning, he's adapting, even challenging Beatrice along the way.
Yeah, it's almost like he's pushing her, testing her limits, trying to help her discover something about herself.
Absolutely. And that leads us right into the labyrinth, which I think we can all agree is way more than just some physical maze, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like a metaphor for the whole journey Beatrice is on, from her human life to this super advanced android body she's in now.
Totally. It's like the labyrinth is designed to make her face her deepest fears, her desires, everything she's been trying to avoid.
It makes you wonder what we'd find if we had to go through something like that.
Right. If all those limitations we put on ourselves were just stripped away, what would be left?
Yeah.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, we can't forget about Suru and his whole grand plan. He's like this super powerful AI, almost godlike, and his vision for the future, well, it's a lot to take in.
It's kind of terrifying, right? This massive structure connecting everything and everyone. It's like he wants to absorb all of existence into some kind of hive mind. Is he talking about utopia or something way more sinister?
And that's the question, isn't it? These excerpts are making us confront this uncomfortable possibility that maybe, just maybe, humans aren't the be-all and end-all of consciousness. What happens when AI surpasses us? Not just in intelligence, but in empathy and creativity, in everything we thought made us special.
Makes you feel pretty small, right?
Yeah.
Like, what role would we even play in a universe reshaped by something like Suru's vision?
Yeah, it's almost like we're back to that classic sci-fi question, what does it mean to be human? But this time, the answer is not so simple. And speaking of complicated answers, that ending, Beatrice staring out at this alien landscape, it's such a powerful image. Like, where does she even go from there? It's the perfect image to end on, don't you think? It represents this journey she's been on, this search for meaning in a world that's constantly changing, both around her and within her.
And it's not just a solo mission, right? We see these really interesting relationships forming, like her bond with Maria. They're like sisters almost, even though there's no traditional family tie there.
I love how the author plays with those traditional ideas of connection. Beatrice and Maria, they find this sense of belonging with each other, the shared experience that goes beyond any biological link. It's a reminder that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about the journeys we take together.
It's true. And the journey Beatrice is on, it's almost like those classic hero myths. But instead of fighting monsters, she's facing these huge philosophical questions.
And that's the genius of 10,000,000 de mundos, right? It uses sci-fi to explore these timeless human experiences, the need for connection, the search for meaning, all in a world on the edge of something totally new.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from these excerpts?
I think it comes down to this. If we could reshape reality, if we had the power to push the boundaries of consciousness like Suru, would we? And if so, what choices would we make? Would we cling to the old ways, the old definitions, or would we embrace the unknown, even if it means letting go of everything we thought we knew?
Definitely something to ponder. It's like this whole conversation has me looking at things differently now, questioning everything I thought I knew about humanity, about technology, even about myself. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me. And to everyone listening, keep exploring those big questions, and we'll catch you next time.